A YouTube trader claims he turned $100 into $1 million in 90 days. And I kept seeing people ask about him on Reddit, in trading forums, and many of you asked me about him too. So I decided enough was enough. This looks like a case for Revelio trading, so I went down the rabbit hole. I watched 32 of his videos for a total of 34 hours, 51 minutes, and 52 seconds. I read his website, found a spelling error, watched CoffeeZilla's video on him, read a fan's summary of his strategy on Scribd, and then I rebuilt his entire strategy, rule for rule, and ran it through 10 years of data. All to answer one simple question: does his strategy actually work? His name is Alex Gonzalez, also known by his YouTube name fxalexg. His strategy is called set and forget, and I have to give him credit. Unlike most YouTube traders, he explains his strategy in a very clear way, with defined rules, and this made backtesting much easier. But before getting into the strategy, we need to understand the size of the claim.
Direction of the entire market. So swing trading, you can have a win rate anywhere from 60 to 65%, but the risk to reward is by far the greatest.
Right? But I would always aim for the trade to have a potential of a 1 to 4 risk to reward, because
he says that swing trading, which is his trading style, gives a 60 to 65% win rate, and he aims for a risk to reward ratio of 1 to 4. 65% win rate with a 1 to 4 risk to reward ratio? This made me suspicious right away, so I ran a simple Monte Carlo simulation. A Monte Carlo simulation is basically a way to test many possible future outcomes. Imagine you want to predict how long it will take to drive to work tomorrow. You might hit every red light, there might be an accident, and so on, so you can't predict tomorrow exactly. A Monte Carlo simulation does the next best thing. It plays out thousands of possible versions of the same trip and shows you the full range: the typical trip, the worst, and the best. In our case, each trip isn't a drive to work. It's a full 10-year trading career using Alex's numbers. Here's what comes out. On average, you would turn $10,000 into $88.05 trillion. If you happen to be lucky and run the best path of the simulation, you end up with $7.12 quadrillion. If you are unlucky and run the worst simulated path, you get $389.49 billion. So even on your worst run, after 10 years of trading this strategy, you should be the second richest person in the world. So if your goal is to take down Elon Musk from number 1 in 10 years, this strategy is not for you. Jokes aside again, it looks suspicious to me, but without data, I won't express my opinion. I just want to show that the bar is set pretty high. Now let's see how this strategy actually works. The strategy relies on two main ideas: trend and areas of interest. Let's start with trend. A candle has a body showing the open and the close price, and wicks showing the high and low. Alex focuses on bodies for almost everything, including trend. So to keep it clean, I'll switch to a line chart. In an uptrend, we track 2 points, a higher low and a higher high. As long as price stays between them, the trend doesn't change. Every little swing in between is just noise. The structure only updates when price breaks one of these 2 points. Break the higher high, the uptrend continues. That new high becomes the new higher high, and the most recent low becomes the new higher low. This is now the range defining the uptrend. What if price had broken the higher low instead? The trend shifts. That low becomes the lower low, while the last swing high becomes the lower high. And now we're in a downtrend. Let's put a full example on screen and read the trend according to the set and forget strategy. 20 swing points. Can you call the trend at every step? From 1 to 2, we're in an uptrend. Point 1 is the higher low. Point 2, the higher high. 2 to 3, price retraces, but nothing breaks, so point 3 is just a swing low. We are still in an uptrend. From 3 to 4, price breaks the higher high. the structure changes. Now point 4 is the new higher high. What about the new higher low? We take the most recent swing low, so point 3. That's our new leg. It only changes again if price breaks either point 3 or point 4. From 4 all the way to 11, price moves up and down. But every one of these swings lives inside the 3 to 4 leg, so none of them changes the structure. The trend is still defined by points 3 and 4. That changes from 11 to 12. Price breaks the higher high again. Point 12 becomes the new higher high, while point 11, the most recent swing low, becomes the new higher low. Still an uptrend, just a new leg. Then, from 12 to 13, price breaks the higher low. The trend shifts from bullish to bearish, and the leg from 12 to 13 now defines a downtrend. And here's the first interesting part, because many traders would still say this is an uptrend and draw a trend line like this. By Alex's rule, this is already a downtrend. And we play by his rules, since we are testing his strategy. 13 to 14 is just a retracement. Nothing breaks. 14 to 15, price breaks the lower low. The new lower low is at 15, while the most recent swing high becomes the lower high. And the downtrend is now defined by the 14 to 15 leg. From 15 to 20, we have a structure that most traders would call bullish. Alex doesn't, because the structure hasn't actually broken according to his rules. Until price breaks this lower high, the market is in a downtrend. One final detail about trends. They are studied on the weekly, daily, and 4-hour timeframes. We need 2 consecutive timeframes in line to confirm a trend. So either the weekly and the daily need to be in the same trend, or the daily and the 4-hour. And that's the entire trend engine. But the trend only tells Alex which direction to trade, not where to take the trade. For that, he uses the second core concept of his strategy, areas of interest. An area of interest is a support or a resistance, so simply a price area the market keeps reacting to. Just like for trends, Alex only considers the bodies of the candlesticks, not the wicks. So how do we find areas of interest? A level is considered an area of interest only if price has touched it at least 3 times. The area cannot be bigger than 60 pips and cannot be smaller than 5 pips. We mark them only on the weekly and daily timeframes. Levels on the weekly timeframe are valid for up to 5 years, while levels on the daily timeframe are valid up to 2 years. You can only enter a trade if the price is inside an area of interest. No area of interest, no trade. Again, credit to him for having very precise rules. So we have established that he checks the trend for the direction of the trade and support and resistance for entering the trade. But what triggers a trade? The trigger is a candlestick pattern among the ones you can see from his list here. The ones crossed out are the ones he doesn't use. What about stop loss and take profit? Stop loss goes 5 to 7 pips beyond the area of interest, while the take profit goes to the nearest structure level, with a minimum risk-to-reward ratio of 1 to 2, but ideally aiming at 1 to 4. No partial take profits, no break-even, no trade management. Once you place stop loss and take profit, they are set in stone. That is why his strategy is called set and forget. We have a complete strategy breakdown, and the rules are clear enough to backtest it quite accurately. At this point, I was pretty excited. Are we going to make it to the top 10 richest people? So I ran the test. This is every result, the exact pairs and timeframes he trades. And no, we did not make it to the top 10 richest people. The strategy actually lost money. But in all these numbers, there are 2 things that stand out. First, the strategy lost 4% per configuration on average, so it's actually bleeding money. Second, there is not a single time frame that finished with a positive return. That's disappointing, because we were expecting to turn $10,000 into billions of dollars in 10 years. But what if we had actually traded this strategy with $10,000 over the past 10 years? We'd be left with $21, a loss of nearly 100% of our account. But the biggest question is not even the return. The biggest question is the win rate. Because Alex talks about a 60 to 65% win rate while aiming for trades around 1 to 4 risk to reward. So I was really curious, is there any version of the strategy that gets even close to that? And the answer is no. Across all the tests, the average win rate was around 21%. Even the best currency pair, dollar Swiss franc, only reached around 28%. The worst pair, Australian dollar Canadian dollar, sits at 5%, though that's only 61 trades, so not really statistically significant. And if anything, these numbers are generous. In the backtest, the average risk-to-reward ratio was around 1 to 3.5, not 1 to 4. Smaller targets are easier to hit, so they move the win rate up. If I'd forced a strict 1 to 4 risk-to-reward ratio on every trade, the win rate would be even lower. At this point, Revelio Trading could have closed the case and said that this strategy simply doesn't work. Instead, I decided to put my obsessive hat on, and I went back through Alex's videos, even the ones in which he just smokes cigars and drives fancy cars instead of trading. Because we are not slightly below the claim. We are not missing by 5 or 10 percentage points. We are missing by more than 30 percentage points. So where is this missing edge? Is it in the pair selection, the time frame, the candlestick patterns, the session, the month? So I grabbed a coffee and started scanning every single piece of data. And this brings us to the next chapter of the story. So let's start from the data we already have, the return by pair and time frame. I spent some time looking at it, trying to find patterns and clues. One thing that I noticed was that all the pairs containing the Canadian dollar, the British pound, or the New Zealand dollar were negative, with the exception of euro pound that was just slightly positive at plus 0.6% average return. So what if we remove these currencies? We have 6 currency pairs left, but the board looks much better than before. The average return is finally positive at 11.9%. Let's check the win rate. The average win rate is 25%. Better than before, but nowhere near the 60 to 65% claim. What about our $10,000 in 10 years? It would have turned into $11,646, which is about 1.5% a year. And the maximum drawdown would have been minus 66%. Not great. These numbers don't seem to reveal any hidden edge. Besides, I couldn't find any logical reason to exclude Canadian dollar, British pound, and New Zealand dollar from our tests. Yes, they were the worst performers, but removing the worst performers without a logical reason is just plain overfitting. So maybe this hidden edge is not in the pair selection. Maybe it's in the time frame. But when we look at the original table showing results by pair and time frame, we can see that all the time frames had negative returns. So it must be something else, something that we haven't analyzed so far. So I took the next logical step and looked at the entry conditions. Alex says that he uses all these candlestick patterns to enter the market. But what if some of them were performing poorly and dragging all the results down? So I checked the performance by candlestick patterns. Sure, there is one candlestick pattern that has a very low win rate, and we could make an argument about removing it to improve the performance of the whole strategy. But with only 37 trades, it barely moves the needle on the win rate of the entire strategy. This chart seems to confirm what the rest of the data has shown us so far. Win rate clusters around 17 to 24%, miles away from the 60 to 65% claim. Rewatching his videos, Alex says that the best session to trade is the overlap between the London and the New York session. Also, the best months to trade are January to March and October to December, while June and July are slow months. So let's do it. Let's sort the data by session and by month. The same 19 to 20% win rate everywhere. We open this video with a simple question. Does this strategy actually work? I looked everywhere. Pair selection, timeframes, candlestick patterns, trading sessions, months of the year. Every door led to the same place. So here's my opinion. No, the set and forget strategy does not work. But I was not going to give up because I still believed we could make this strategy profitable. For example, are we sure the higher time frame trend filter is actually helping? In other strategies we've tested, this bias actually hurt profitability. Also, if this entire system is based on catching trends, why restrict it to forex? What happens if we use it on markets that tend to have strong trends, like gold, indices, and Bitcoin? What if we let machine learning analyze the strategy? Maybe it will discover patterns that we missed? All these questions needed answers, and maybe these answers could finally lead to a profitable strategy. All of this in the next video.